Welcome back to Coast. David and Kerry with you. Bucks and Celtics. Boston won game one, but it's been all Milwaukee since. Giannis casually sauntering in. Marcus Smart back. Turned out to be a non-event. 3 points in 15 minutes. And Kyrie's game has been off. 8 of 22 in game 3. 7 of 22 in game 4 last night. Such a great finisher. Can't get it to go here. Gets his own rebound. And watch this one come out. Like an Ephus pitch. Just catches rim. So he's struggling, and yet the Celtics were leading at halftime. Antetokounmpo having foul trouble. He's out of the game, but Pat Connaughton with the block and then the back-scratching jam at the other end. The Bucks going on a run with Antetokounmpo on the bench. Outscored the Celtics by 8 over the final 8-17 of the third, and then Giannis comes back. He's well-rested. He reasserts his dominance, tracks that one down from behind. Jaylen Brown got, and then... Where's the Greek freak? He's around here somewhere. Yep, cleans that up. Yes, and one angry snarl, playoff snarl. Bucks up 11 there. Giannis, remember, he looked shaky in game one. He's been the best player on the floor ever since the 360 spin. Look at the guns on this fella. 39 points in the game. He's spinning again and then going right down Broadway. Bucks running out front. The Celtics actually booed off the floor. That may be the last they see of this team in Boston. Bucks will look for the closeout tomorrow night in Milwaukee, up 3-1. Giannis joins Kareem as the only Bucks with 35 and 15 in a postseason game. Also the only two in franchise history with 30 and 10 in back-to-back playoff games. Giannis killing the Celtics inside. 26 points on 13 of 16 shooting in the paint. That's a career high for points in the paint in a playoff game. And double teaming him, well, that was not the answer. The Bucks 6 for 7 when the Celtics put 2 on Giannis. He was perfect, 3 for 3. His teammates went 3 for 4. So the Celtics with a large mountain to climb to win this one. They have only come back from a 3-1 series deficit twice in franchise history. The last time they did it was almost 40 years ago. The most common result, they have 5 losses in Game 5s, and they head to Milwaukee as 9.5-point underdogs. Kyrie has an answer for his offensive woes. Shoot more.
For me, the 22 shots, I should have shot 30. It really not great of a shooter. So I think that just the consistency of just going at it, staying aggressive is always going to put us in a great position. Obviously, being more cautious on the turnovers, getting down the stretch when they're going on runs or managing the game better that way, I feel like I do better. But in terms of shooting, it's a series. They're doing a great job of loading, making sure they're putting a high emphasis on anywhere I go on the court.
Irving started off strong game 1, scored 26, shot 56%, but he has cooled off considerably. Games 2 through 4, Kyrie averaging just over 20 a game with a 30% field goal percentage. Over the last 3, Kyrie has missed 43 shots, his most ever in a 3-game playoff span. Here's Tim Legler weighing in on Kyrie's troubles.
I just thought there were so many forced possessions when it seemed like Kyrie was premeditating what he wanted to do because he's trying to snap out of this slump. Here's the first example. He comes around here, loops under. Look at Al Horford. That ball has to be kicked out. He's still got his hands ready to receive it well after Kyrie shoots the basketball. Here again, sideline out of bounds play. They play it perfectly. Kyrie was already thinking about shooting the ball before he even took it out. Leads to that travel in a contested shot. This one right here is after a made basket. Comes up the floor. Pat Connaughton can't play it any better. There's just nothing there. Never got the screen set. And then this is my favorite. There's still 7 seconds on the shot clock when he takes this. You talk about a difficult shot. Ends up with the wedge job. Horford is slipping to the rim right there. And look, I'm not trying to call Kyrie Irving selfish by any means. But the fact that his mentality is, this is what they brought me here to do, and I've been bad the last couple of games. I've got to go ahead and do this myself. What happens when you play that way, you start to lose the trust of your teammates that you're making the right play for them. Now their effort sinks. You end up with what you had in the last 12 minutes of this game when Milwaukee ran away with it and really put a stranglehold on the series. So it's a team divided right now. Let's see if they can muster something on the road and try to stay in this series.
So Game 5 in Milwaukee tomorrow night. Celtics, even though they've won 3 or 4 away from home this postseason, they did lose Game 2 against the Bucks. They lost by 21 in that one. Chris Middleton dropped 7 threes on him. Really tough to do. Need a 3-game winning streak to survive and advance.
David, I have to say that Giannis was correct when he said he needed to do nothing. Today is the first day teams can sign free agents whose contracts expired without giving up a draft pick for next year onto the NFL. And Ndamukong Suh spent last year with the Rams and will look to extend his streak of starting in 115 regular season games, the longest active streak by a defensive lineman. Muhammad Wilkerson still on the market, folks. He played just 3 games with the Packers before suffering a season-ending ankle injury. And Ziggy Ansah is also coming off an injury-plagued 2018. Take a look there. The former Lions defensive end led the team in sacks since entering the NFL in 2013. For more, we welcome in our NFL insider, Dan Graziano. Dan, thanks so much for being here on Coast to Coast. I appreciate it. So talk to us. What are some of the potential landing spots for these free agents, starting with Ziggy?
Yeah, Carrie, you look at Ansah, and this is a guy who's about to turn 30 years old, and he's had some injury issues. Former top 5 pick with a lot of potential who hasn't lived up to it. That's why he's still on the market. Everyone's always looking for edge rusher, though. Seattle and Baltimore are 2 teams that he visited earlier in this process. The Los Angeles Rams are always out there looking for edge rusher. And our Adam Schefter reporting just a couple of minutes ago that Jason Pierre-Paul of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers suffered a neck injury and could be out for the season. So Tampa Bay jumps to the top of the list of teams looking for pass rushers as well. Muhammad Wilkerson, Seattle is a team that could be of interest to him. They're looking for defensive line help. Just traded Frank Clark. Dallas always also looking for defensive line help. Potential destinations for Wilkerson, who, as you mentioned, coming off a serious ankle injury. Ndamukong Suh, 1 year with the Rams. I think the expectation is he'll kind of go year to year and that he wants a place where he can contend for a title. Hasn't really gone on any visits. I've been told by a couple of people to watch out for the Colts as a potential team just because they have the cap space. Doesn't really fit with what the Colts have done the last couple off seasons, but perhaps if the price drops, he could be appealing to them. And then running back Jay Ajayi, who isn't even 26 years old yet, coming off an ACL injury, has shown an ability to play well in big games, obviously the biggest games for the Eagles. Atlanta, Houston jump out as 2 teams that might still be looking for running back help, but given that he's coming off an injury and given that the position is usually not one of high priority in free agency, it may be that someone like Ajayi would have to wait until, inevitably, unfortunately, someone gets hurt in minicamp or training camp to open up an opportunity.
One of the biggest names on that list, and Ndamukong Suh, would be interesting to see where he lands. I'm surprised the Rams are even considering possibly letting him go. That's our Dan Graziano with notable free agents. I appreciate you joining us here on Coast to Coast. David.
All right, as Dan just referenced, breaking news in SportsCenter, Buccaneers defensive end Jason Pierre-Paul could miss this season after suffering a fractured neck in a single car accident. Sources telling that to our Adam Schefter. The accident took place last week in South Florida. Sources said Pierre-Paul will visit neck specialists this week to gather more opinions on the injury. Let's bring in Adam now on the telephone. You hear fractured neck, Adam, and you forget football. You worry about him living his life. What more can you tell us about the extent of this neck injury?
Yeah, David, he's going to visit with neck specialists this week. I'm told that surgery is likely going to be needed on his fractured neck at this point in time. And if, of course, he gets that surgery on his fractured neck, you would think that he's going to miss the season. Now, I was told that there's that real chance that he's going to miss the season. However you slice it up, it's obviously a huge setback for Jason Pierre-Paul and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are facing the loss of a player that they were really counting on this year. Again, it was a single-car accident last week. He has not been at the Buccaneers' voluntary off-season workouts under the new head coach, Bruce Arians. The incident occurred at 5 a.m. last week, early one morning. He was not cited at the time. He was taken in to the hospital to get his injury looked at, and at the time, nobody thought it seemed to be serious. But over the last 24 or so hours, it seems like word has begun to leak out that obviously it's a more severe injury than people were initially led on to believe. And so the belief now is that he's got a fractured bone in his neck, that he's likely to need surgery, and the surgery then probably would end his season. Either way, he's out indefinitely, at the very least, and I think there's a real chance he's not going to play again this season, David.
All right, tough news for JPP. Remember the fireworks accident where he lost a finger on the 4th of July a few years ago, and now a fractured neck in a car accident, single car accident. Adam Schefter giving us the very latest on that.
All right, David, as you said, wishing him well. Tough turn here. Mother's Day quickly approaching. Baker delivers a message to his mother. You don't want to miss it. He also has a message for the folks in Cleveland. Plus, as our fantasy football rankings reveal, they continue, guys. Where would you put OBJ? Where should he have been drafted? Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. We talk about all of that coming up next on Coast to Coast.